When people lack complete information, they often get confused and start coming up with the most incredible theories. The video we're going to talk about also made many people think that it depicted an old incident in which a woman was brutally attacked by her ex-lover. One young woman, while in her apartment, heard screams from the street. She approached the window and decided to record what was happening. In the distance, she spotted a woman who appeared to be in serious trouble. While continuing to record, the young woman called the police. The video disturbed the public so much that it immediately went viral. In their attempt to identify the woman, social media users dubbed her zombie. Many of them were of the opinion that this was Marilyn Stanley, who fell victim to an attack by her ex-boyfriend and his dog in 2015. Today, we'll talk about a case that occurred in the United States in 2015, but only became widely known in 2021 when the viral video appeared on TikTok. Marilyn Stanley was born in Kentucky, USA, in 1988. In 2014, the 26-year-old Marilyn became a happy single mother leading a steady life with her son and other family members. In the same year, she met a man named Zachary Gross through social media, who was 28 years old. Initially, they were friends, but later their relationship turned romantic. Marilyn's mother did not approve of this relationship. She saw Zachary as a bad person. Several times, she told her daughter that he wasn't the right match for her. However, Marilyn dismissed her mother's concerns, saying that Zachary was always kind and caring to her, her son, and the rest of the family. She believed her mother was overreacting. The first few weeks of Marilyn and Zachary's relationship were indeed good. However, over time, Zachary revealed his aggressive side. He turned out to be a controlling partner who wanted to know her whereabouts every minute of the day. He wanted to know who she was meeting and where she was going. He tried to control her entire schedule. Eventually, the couple moved into Zachary's apartment, and that's when he started regularly abusing Marilyn. It escalated to the point where he once broke her nose. Moreover, she constantly had bruises all over her body, which she tried to hide and came up with various excuses for. Her mother, sisters, and friends were very concerned about her. However, Marilyn was reluctant to end the relationship until early 2015, when she decided to leave Zachary after he attempted to strangle her and nearly killed her. Marilyn was afraid for her life and the life of her son, so she packed her things and returned to her mother's house. At the time, she was 27 years old, and she thought the nightmare had finally ended. But it was just the beginning. Zachary started stalking her. He followed her everywhere, called her, and sent hundreds of messages, some of which contained threats, while others were a form of emotional blackmail. Zachary wrote that he hated her for leaving him when he was only trying to take care of her. He wrote that she should stop being afraid of him and that his actions were driven by love for her. He even wrote that he was trying to protect her from the hostile world, which is why he followed her everywhere. Marilyn changed her phone number, but the harassment continued. Zachary accompanied her wherever she went. His obsession led him to get a job at the same place where Marilyn worked, just to spend more time with her. Zachary didn't leave Marilyn alone for several months until September 2015. And then, on one of the days in September, a terrible accident happened to her. It was early in the morning. Marilyn was at home with her son, while her mother was away. Zachary started aggressively banging on the door, forcing the young woman to let him in. Once inside the house, he attacked Marilyn, hitting her in the face and various parts of her body. She tried to calm him down, asking what he wanted from her. In response, he asked her to come to his house so they could talk calmly. Zachary added that he wanted to mend their relationship. Marilyn knew that there was nothing left between them, but she agreed to the trip. Later, Marilyn admitted that all she wanted at that moment was to get Zachary out of her house, as his presence made her worry about the physical safety of her young son. When she agreed to the supposed conversation at Zachary's house, he stopped hitting her and left. On September 24, 2015, Marilyn met Zachary at his house, but what happened was by no means a calm conversation. When Marilyn entered the house, she saw that Zachary had a photograph in which she and her son were pictured in the park. This photo had been posted on social media by one of her acquaintances with the caption, "For Marilyn." This greatly angered Zachary. He asked Marilyn if she was dating the guy in the photo, and she said no. Then Zachary led her into his bedroom and attacked her there. Marilyn recalled that at that moment, Zachary began brutally beating her. At some point during the attack, she also realized that Zachary called his dog and ordered it to attack her as well. He pinned her to the ground, continuously beating her, while the dog bit into her ear. According to Marilyn's account, she lost consciousness for several minutes afterward and didn't remember clearly what happened next. When Marilyn came to, the man was somewhere nearby. He suggested she go and look in the mirror. Marilyn looked at her reflection in the mirror and noticed that she had lost her hair. However, her eyes were so swollen from the beatings that she couldn't clearly see the state of her head. She thought that the man had shaved or cut her hair. After that, when she regained consciousness again, Zachary hit her multiple times. When he finally stopped, he told her that it was all over. The torture of Marilyn lasted for about 2 hours. For 2 straight hours, this man beat her in the bedroom. And apparently, not only there, as there was blood all over the house. But in Marilyn's memories, almost everything happened in that room. After the attack, the perpetrator helped his victim clean the blood off, gave her a hat to cover her head, a hoodie with a hood. Then he handed her a plastic bag. Marilyn felt so bad that she didn't even look at what was inside. She only saw the hair on top and realized that they were her own hair that he had cut off. After that, Zachary put Marilyn in a car. She asked him to call an ambulance, as she was seriously injured. But he refused to call for medical help and said he would take her to her mother's house while she was still away. The man was so cynical that he even asked Marilyn for a farewell kiss. Of course, she refused. The distressed woman ran out of the attacker's car and sought help from her family. Seeing her in such a state, they immediately called an ambulance, and Marilyn was urgently taken to the hospital. During the medical examination, doctors discovered the full extent of the horror the victim had endured. In reality, Zachary didn't just shave her head. Armed with a knife, he removed the upper part of her skull, taking away 2/3 of it. Furthermore, Marilyn's right ear was in a terrible state. Zachary's dog had bitten off part of the earlobe and completely disfigured it, tearing off several pieces. Her ribs were broken, her body was covered in bruises, and her face was swollen. The bag that Zachary handed Marilyn contained her scalp and pieces of her ear, the fragments that the dog had torn off. Thanks to this evidence, doctors were able to partially reconstruct Marilyn's scalp and ear, although some parts were still missing. Doctors had to use skin from other parts of her body to reconstruct her head and ear. Unfortunately, Marilyn had to come to terms with the fact that her hair would never grow back. She underwent several surgeries, but even then, it was difficult for doctors to restore her head and ear to their original form. As for her ear, it couldn't be fully reconstructed because certain pieces were missing. They couldn't be replaced with skin from other parts of the body. The surgeries were very expensive, and the family didn't have the money to cover all the costs. Therefore, Marilyn's friends created a fund to collect donations for her medical bills. After undergoing multiple surgeries and her condition improving, Marilyn was interviewed by the police. She, of course, said that Zachary had attacked her and described what happened in the apartment. The moments she remembered well, the ones she remembered vaguely, and those that didn't leave an impression in her memory were all part of her testimony. Still, her account as the victim aligned well with her injuries. Zachary was also questioned by the police. At the time, the 29-year-old man denied all the accusations made by Marilyn. He claimed that the attack was carried out by his dog, which was simply defending its owner. In the news, they said that I grabbed the girl and pulled out her hair. Well, of course, my dog did that. The police started investigating and soon realized that the man was lying. When they searched his house, they found blood. It was everywhere, on the walls, on the furniture, even on the ceiling, which couldn't be attributed in any way to a dog attack, considering that only skin and blood were left on the dog's surface. The dog clearly couldn't have done anything like that. Furthermore, the medical report only mentioned Marilyn's ear as having wounds from bites. According to the doctors, all the other injuries were inflicted by a human. One of them was caused by a blow to the head with a sharp object, a knife, or a razor blade. The fractures and bruises were the result of blunt force trauma. Once the investigators gathered all the necessary evidence and were convinced that Marilyn's attack wasn't related to a dog, which was also confirmed by Marilyn herself, Zachary Gross was arrested by the police and sent to prison. During all interrogations, Zachary continued to insist on his innocence. He managed to contact various American media outlets and gave interviews to some of them. In these interviews, he relentlessly repeated that his dog had tried to protect him from Marilyn when she came to his house to attack him. Zachary tried his best to escape custody and avoid trial, but his version of events was not believed by anyone. In 2016, he was convicted. During the trial, several witnesses testified, including the victim and the defendant. When Zachary took the stand, he said almost nothing that could help him. Moreover, he behaved provocatively, mocking people in the courtroom, winking at Marilyn while she was giving her testimony. Overall, he acted aggressively. In court, he again claimed that it was all the dog's fault and that he had never harmed his ex-girlfriend. I feel terrible about what happened, but I'm not responsible for it. I insist on my innocence, that's all. I'm not asking for anyone's mercy. 20 years, that's right, 20, let it be so. In 2017, at the age of 31, Zachary was sentenced to 20 years in prison for attacking Marilyn. However, the judge added an additional 34 days to his sentence for inappropriate behavior in court during the trial. After Zachary's incarceration, Marilyn continued to live her life and in several interviews mentioned that she had become involved in assisting victims of violence, as it allowed her to feel happier and more in harmony with herself. I try to help people. It's the best thing I can do. It keeps me afloat because it makes me feel better. This activity has given me back the ability to smile, because now I know I can help someone. Now, let's talk about why in the past year, in 2021, nearly 6 years after those events, the incident is still giving people something to talk about, especially when it comes to social media. The reason is a TikTok video. That video that made everyone think its main character was that very Marilyn. But it took only a few days to debunk that claim. Many details in the video indicate that it's not Marilyn. The woman in the video, referred to as the zombie, remains unidentified. No one knows who she is or whether it's a promotional clip. Or perhaps it's a scene from a movie. Alternatively, maybe the woman is a victim of violence, or she could be homeless, suffering from mental health issues, or struggling with substance abuse. In the concluding part of the video, I'll tell you about everything that actually transpired. In May 2021, a girl uploaded a video on TikTok. In the video, some woman walks with a shaved head and numerous wounds on her body. Additionally, you can hear her screaming. The uploader, who shared the video, commented that everything happened in front of her house in Seattle, Washington. The recording was made in the afternoon, when the girl usually went about her business. According to her, while doing something around the house, she heard a woman screaming on the street and went to the window to record the video and upload it to social media. I hope someone can help identify the woman in the video, she commented on the post. Additionally, the girl reported that she immediately called the police. Perhaps she did this because she heard screams or due to the woman's disturbing appearance. Whatever the case, the clip went viral. Spanish-speaking users, among whom the video gained the most popularity, in contrast to the English-speaking audience, began to refer to the woman as the zombie without really understanding the story behind the video. The truth is, the story behind this video is unlikely to ever be fully revealed. One thing is certain, this woman is not Marilyn. First and foremost, there are testimonies from the girl recording the video. She stated that she recorded the clip in 2021, not in 2015 when the unfortunate incident with Marilyn occurred. Furthermore, we know that Marilyn did not roam the streets, and she was not accompanied by the police as shown in the video. From her account, we understand that her family helped her, that she sat in the assailant's car on the way between her home and his. Upon returning home, she took an ambulance, and that truly makes us think that the woman in the video is not her. Also, we can observe that the woman in the video is bald, whereas Marilyn did not lose her scalp. Finally, from the video, it's clear that it couldn't have been made in 2015 when Zachary attacked Marilyn, because the police officers are wearing masks, which weren't worn until a health emergency emerged worldwide. In the comments on her TikTok video, the author stated that she doesn't know what happened to the woman. She simply called the police and recorded everything she saw. No one knows what health problems the woman in the video had or what exactly happened to her on the street. There's another hypothesis that all of this is part of a publicity stunt for a movie about homelessness issues in the United States. Many people believe that it might be a performance designed to draw more attention to the film. With it, the country's residents will think about the fact that there are people on the streets who are truly in dire straits. Well, this video is somewhat different from the rest. Today, we have a survivor in front of us, someone who managed to survive and cope with all her traumas. The victim gradually rebuilt her life and now helps women who, like her, have experienced violence. As for the viral video, it only tells us that nobody knows who the woman in it is. Perhaps, if the police talk to its creator, they will eventually dispel all the doubts of social media users. But in any case, it's important to consider one crucial thing: we tend to label people in ways that dehumanize them. Whoever that woman was, she was not a zombie. She was a person suffering from problems unknown to us, related to psychoactive substances, alcohol, or something else. These problems manifested in her behavior, which indicated that she needed help. If all this is nothing more than an advertisement or a scene from a movie, we'll have to wait. Perhaps right now the police are compiling a report about this incident. And even if that's the case, it's uncertain whether this information will be shared with the public. Maybe the woman's relatives or people in her vicinity will decide not to disclose any information. Whatever the case, the incident that happened many years ago is not connected to what is shown in this video. However, it continues to be popular.